Hi, I wanted to come to you guys with a testimony about what happened to me yesterday, October 25th. Basically, I've been struggling with marijuana for about 7 to 8 years. And since I was in the ninth grade, I've been struggling with marijuana. I've been smoking it. In the back of my mind, I always knew that there was something wrong with smoking marijuana. I always questioned if it was a sin to smoke marijuana. And there's certain Bible verses that you can use to prove to you that smoking marijuana is a sin, especially if you have to question it. There's a Bible verse that says that God is not the author of confusion. There's also Bible verses that said if anything tempt you, it's not from God. And there's plenty of times I've been tempted by marijuana. And God cannot be tempted. That's what it says in the scriptures. And God does not tempt. So you ask yourself. Anyways, I been struggling with it, and I always ask myself, but I always justified it by saying, well, it opens up my mind, or well, it helps me with anxiety. And so I've always justified smoking marijuana by these excuses, or I like the way it makes me feel, or even times I said it feels like I'm closer to the Most High when I smoke marijuana. Big mistake. So I got into the habit of smoking marijuana and singing praises to the Most High, singing praises to the Lord. I got in the habit of doing this. And basically, yesterday, this has been going on for some time, but yesterday, October 25th, before I went to go smoke, I thought about in my mind, what if God's mercy ever ran out for me? What if God's grace ever ran out for me? But I just pushed the thought to the back of my mind, and I shut the bathroom door, and I took the smoking pipe, the bowl, and I put some marijuana in there, and I started to smoke in the bathroom. Afterwards, I came out, and I went into the kitchen. I opened the kitchen shade, and I looked up, just the way I'm in front of the shade right now. But I opened the curtain, I looked up in the kitchen, and I started to sing praises like I normally do. Even though in the back of my mind, I knew it was wrong. I just did it to ease my conscience. But this time, it was much different. In the middle of singing praises, I just stopped, and my mind blanked out, and out of my mouth came a loud utter, and I just said, "You are not safe from God's wrath, and you are not King David." That's what I said out of my mouth. And the reason I had said, "You are not King David," or I was allowed to utter this saying out of my mouth, now looking back, is because deep in my conscience, I always thought of King David. Every time I wanted to justify my sin, I always thought of King David, because I saw what manner of mercy that he bestowed on David's life. Even though I know that David didn't continuously do the wrong thing, and I did, I just always thought back to David for some reason. But anyways, that's what I uttered out of my. It was a troubling spirit, and I uttered out of my mouth, "You are not safe from God's wrath, and you are not King David." At that point, it was like terror came over me, and I started shuffling for the pipe that I had smoked out of. I started shuffling for it so I can put it away, so I can cast it away from me. And I remembered the verse. The verse came into my head like a dagger, like an arrow. It said that in those days, the heathen will cast their idols away from them. And at that point, more terror struck over me, because I'm like, okay. And I stopped. I stopped staggering to put the idol away, because I'm like, I can't, I'm in front of the Lord. What am I doing? Like, I can't, okay, and so then, a loud, audible voice came to my mind. An audible voice came to my mind. And I'm in terror right now. I don't know what to do. And right now I'm crouching on the ground because I'm trying to put the smoking pipe back in its place. It was in a bag on the ground, in my brother's bag. So I'm staggering to put it back. So right now I'm crouching on the ground, and then when the verse comes to my mind that says they will cast away their idols in those days, I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. And so an audible voice came to me and said, "This is the day of the Lord." And when that came over me, when I heard those words, terror struck me. Terror struck me. It was so surreal. It was like a feeling that you could never expect it to happen to you. You could have never expect. Now I know what it means in the Bible about being caught in a snare. That day will come upon many like a snare. Because it's like almost I had no control over it. I had no control. So when I heard those words, "This is the day of the Lord," I was getting ready to run out of my house. I was going to run out of my house. And when I was going to take flight, because I thought the Lord's armies was ready, Armageddon, another dagger came to my mind. Armageddon. And if I run out of this house, I'm going to be running to the ends of the earth, and that the Lord's arrows will be stretched against me. Terror came over me. And it was the feeling, it was like all I could do was stagger for the door. Stagger for the door. All I could say was, "I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm going to die." That's what I kept saying. And when I staggered for the door, if I run, I'm going to be running to the end of the earth, Armageddon, and the Lord's arrows is going to be stretched against me because of my sin. This is wrath. I never in my life experienced this manner of Yeshua, some people, Jesus Christ, Yahushua, whatever name you use. I never experienced this side of Jesus before. A lot of people think that God is love and we can abuse his mercy, and this is what I've been doing. And yesterday I seen a whole nother side. I was so shaken up. You cannot outsmart the Lord. You cannot trick the Lord. You cannot mock the Lord. He can take us out at any given time. And at that moment, I felt the Lord's arrows stretched against me, and it was terrifying. It feels so surreal. It's like you have no control over it. It's like you have no choice but for the Lord to be against you in Armageddon. You have no choice. I didn't even get on my knees and cry out for mercy because I knew the scripture enough to know, well, this is it. This is the route that I chose. This is it. This is my fault. And that's not even the beginning of terror. You got to go through Armageddon, the Lord's day, judgment, everlasting fire. That's not even the beginning of torment. And the Lord could have made that experience. The Lord is good, but the Lord is also terrible. He is a terrible God. Do not be caught in sin. If you have something on your heart for your mother, and that's another thing that came to my mind. How dare you have hate in your heart for your mother or your brother or your father or your sister? You should be kissing their feet. That's another thing. We don't need to be caught with these things. The Lord's word is true. And I've been using the gospel as lasciviousness to do my own sin. And I thank him for this experience. But I pray that it may wake us up